Pat McAfee took over American sports media like nothing we've ever seen before.
Give me Alabama to break.
All right, well, get out of here then. Keep running your mouth.
His story to the top of the sports media world is quite interesting. Yes, he gets Aaron Rodgers on his show all the time. And yeah, he now takes up 3 hours on ESPN after signing that 5-year, $85 million deal with them, which I don't think anyone saw coming a few years ago. But what actually makes the story of Pat McAfee's rise to the top so interesting? There's a few reasons to this.
Is what? Is Paul?
Won't just take it down. Debo, we're pulling for you.
Good luck, Debo.
But let's quickly recap how good of a punter Pat McAfee actually was. He played for the Indianapolis Colts from 2009 to 2016. During his tenure, he had some remarkable achievements under his belt. He was selected for the Pro Bowl twice. In 2014, he led the NFL in punting average with an impressive 45.6 yards. And he had the most touchbacks on kickoffs in that same year. But perhaps what he's most known for, and what could arguably be referred to as his most viral video, is this successful conversion of an onside kick. With these accomplishments, it's undeniable that Pat McAfee was an insane punter. And he made some money from that as well. In fact, he ended up signing a lucrative 5-year contract with the Colts for $14.5 million, which is quite impressive. But it's important to note that during this time period, the landscape of sports media was undergoing a rapid shift.
Is that a trick question?
This was the equivalent to me of an NBA panic attack.
McAfee retired from the NFL when he was 29.
I am officially retiring from the NFL.
And decided to join Bar Stool. This was back in 2017. He was super funny and people really liked him on the platform. He was often on podcasts and videos, just being himself. This was an early indicator of Pat McAfee, the creator. Something Bar Stool probably should have capitalized more on. But yeah, after only a few years of Bar Stool, he left. Why did he leave? Well, there's a few reasons. He was upset because some decisions about money were being made by people that he didn't even know. He also says that some of the deals were made and then canceled without him knowing about that as well. Basically, he didn't really like that he didn't know what was going on the business side of things. That he didn't feel respected by the business people at Bar Stool. The fact that he didn't have any control over the business side of being a sports creator were key experiences in shaping the next phase of his career. So yeah, in the end, he decided to leave Bar Stool and do his own thing. So then begins the Pat McAfee Show era. But there's something about Pat McAfee, the YouTuber, that we need to discuss. This sort of dynamic and unique style to sports content creation was kind of a slight departure from the traditional sports talk show format that had been there for ages. And it quickly caught the attention of sports fans looking for something fresh and engaging, especially in a media world that was rapidly changing, where big brands like ESPN and Fox were beginning to struggle to keep their audience. One of the key factors of McAfee's show was his unfiltered vibe. Unlike many traditional sports shows, McAfee's program didn't shy away from certain topics. Everything was sort of discussed in a blunt manner. This approach resonated with many who consume sports content on the internet, but I think arguably the most important part to his show is McAfee's decision to include his friends as key pieces. Now, we've seen this before. Many shows have 1 or 2 main people and then a few people behind the scenes offering extra commentary. But I'd argue that during this time, sports media wasn't too much like this. If you listen to sports radio, it was usually just a couple people talking with callers, ranting about their team. If you listen to ESPN or Fox, it was 2 or 3 of the same people debating about the dumbest sports takes. This was frankly tiring for people to watch and listen to over and over and over again. But Pat McAfee's approach was kind of a combination of everything for 3 hours. Every single day.
Pretty darn good, Tony.
He and his buddies across the room from him, joking around or adding context to discussion, and that was pretty engaging and relatable. It just felt like a group of friends casually discussing sports. This sort of informal approach contrasted pretty sharply with the often scripted and structured discussions on other sports shows, which made McAfee's show pretty easy to relate to and easy to watch for many football fans. But the interesting thing is that he also kept the sports radio style callers that would often call in.
Phone line number 2, what's going on? What's your name? What do you want to talk about?
And provide content for them to react to, something that most sports fans are used to. It created this community, similarly to how you feel a sense of community listening to your local sports radio station. Except this community was nationwide and had the full force of the entire NFL fan base. McAfee's approach to sports content was a stark contrast from what the traditional media outlets had doubled down on. He was relaxed, unfiltered, and this style was a breath of fresh air. And all of this sort of led him to entering a 4-year contract with FanDuel worth $120 million in December of 2021. This deal proved pretty advantageous for both groups, with McAfee's show gaining significant popularity in the sports media sphere, especially when you got frequent appearances by people like Aaron Rodgers. And these appearances were pretty beneficial to both as well, with McAfee compensating Rodgers over $1 million for his contributions. The show's unique blend of sports betting insight, football commentary, a live broadcast similarly to ESPN and Fox on weekdays, especially when there's a global pandemic going on, led to an even more national prominence for Pat McAfee. But this all changed when in May of 2023, they signed a 5-year deal with ESPN valued at $85 million. Now, if you remember, he said he would never let this happen, and many fans were quick to point that out.
A lot of people pumped. A lot of people pumped.
Yeah.
A lot of people not
A lot
pumped.
of people not
A lot of people not
Yeah.
pumped.
But when it comes to media and business, especially when a lot of money is involved, it's really hard to truly say never. This contract enabled the broadcast of his show on ESPN and ESPN Plus, and on the network's YouTube channel. This is also when ESPN doubled down on their big name investments in other people, like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. But at the same time, the deal was met with mixed feelings. As ESPN signed McAfee to a massive contract, they also laid off some top-tier on-air talent, which didn't make many people too happy. They felt the company favored big-name talent over the smaller behind-the-scenes staff, something we're seeing a lot in media and sports across the world. But as usual, that's just a blimp on the timeline, and just shows how ruthless and brutal sports media can be. Everyone moved on, and viewers just continue to consume what they want to consume. So now everyone kind of wants that piece of the pie. It seems like almost every day there's a new retired athlete or soon to be retired athlete starting a sports podcast, setting themselves up for a hopeful future similar to Pat McAfee. And if you think about it, creating NFL content is kind of still largely untapped, especially when you compare it to all the fans that watch the games. That's why Pat McAfee saw so much success. But now that the competition is that much more intense, with viewers' attentions going elsewhere, it makes it that much more sense for ESPN to grab him and put him on for 3 hours. And we didn't even get time to discuss ESPN's new YouTube strategy. That's another video for later, so be sure to subscribe for that. That's all I got. Hope you learned something new. Check out this video right here on why Amazon decides to pay the NFL $1 billion every year.